I now reconvene the regular council meeting for Monday, January 27th, 2025. Before we get the meeting underway, we'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. Sorry. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda for the regular council meeting of Monday, January 27th, 2025? Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Peabody, in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the following minutes? Regular council meeting of Monday, January 13th, 2024. Committee of the whole meeting of Monday, January 20th, 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to public hearings. Tonight we have one public hearing. We'll be dealing with the official community plan tonight. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act in order to consider the proposed City of Cranbrook official community plan, Our Path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174/2024. Everyone who deems their interest in property to be affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. City of Cranbrook official community plan, Our Path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174/2024, is a community planning document that will guide strategic decisions making to all aspects of land use planning, growth, development, and community building in Cranbrook. The OCP's policy are based around the foundation of an updated community vision and guiding principles, which were informed through extensive engagement opportunities during the plan's development. In response to referral comments from the Agricultural Land Commission, some policies are proposed to be amended or added to the draft OCP for Council's consideration at third reading. Sections affected by the amendments include housing, agricultural, institutional, parks and recreation, tourist recreation, and urban holdings. The changes are to strengthen the wording related to lands within the agricultural land reserve. These changes are reflected in the OCP attached to the council report found on the city's website. Once the public hearing is closed, members of council cannot take any further input regarding the City of Cranbrook official community plan, Our Path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174/2024, and will then deal with the bylaw during the regular meeting of council. Thank you. I'll call first time for submissions regarding City of Cranbrook official community plan, Our Path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174/2024.
So Mayor Price, we have no registered speakers and we have no speakers online.
Thank you very much. I'll now call a second time for submissions. Seeing none, I will now call a third and final time for submissions regarding the City of Cranbrook official community plan, Our Path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174/2024. Seeing none, I now close the public hearing and return to the regular agenda. Thank you very much. Okay, we're now moving on to delegations. We have Mario Perotti from BDO Canada with us here tonight to present the council audit planning report for the year ended December 31st, 2024. And Mario, we can see you there. Welcome, Mario. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, members of council, for having me back here tonight. What I'm hoping that this is going to be a brief presentation where we're going to go over our audit planning report, but it's really an extension of the conversation that we started when I was in Chambers back in October. and just making sure that council is aware of where we're at with the audit and how our plan is going to be moving going forward. So I will share my screen. And so you have in your agenda package the audit planning communication. And so this is a required communication that we have. And I'm here to kind of talk you through where we're at with the audit again and some of the highlights. And of course, will be your opportunity to have input in the audit process. And don't worry, we won't be going through all 35 pages. We'll be mainly focusing on the highlights here. And so in terms of the audit timeline, we're here tonight to present the planning communication, and we've commenced our planning, and we're going to be concluding it over the next couple of weeks in terms of assessing what's changed at the city over the past year and identifying if we need to make any changes to our audit approach again this year. Our final audit fieldwork, where we'll come back and do our final testing, is scheduled for March, and it'll spill into April. And then I'll be back in front of you at your May council meeting to review the final audit report. And before we go any further, it's that reminder of what my responsibility, what mayor and council's responsibility, and ultimately what management's responsibility is for the financial statement audit. This slide on page 6 of the report talks about our responsibilities. Our responsibility is, of course, to conduct the audit in accordance with the Canadian auditing standards and work with management towards the timely issuance of the financial statements and to make sure that the financial statements are finalized with plenty of time to meet the May 15th statutory deadline. And we also, because we're going to be coming in and looking at your systems, we are going to, if there are any recommendations that we have, we'll make sure that we provide constructive management letters in terms of advice to management on how to improve things if we do identify anything. And of course, if there are any significant findings or anything out of the ordinary, we are required to present that to mayor and council. And also, if there are any significant deficiencies in your internal controls, we are required to report to you in writing about these internal control issues. And to date, we haven't identified any as part of our planning process, and I anticipate that that will continue being the case. Now, we have a couple of pages where we talk about fraud, and when we're looking at fraud, this is a reminder that every audit that is done, where an auditor is required to assess the risk that something could be wrong in the financial statements as a result of fraud. And that's whether we think that it's a high risk or a low risk. It's every auditor is required to have that. And so our process is to understand the city and how it operates and try to come up with ways where if we think it were to happen, this is, we would perform tests to identify those areas. And if we do identify anything, we'll of course follow it up. Now, the next slide does clearly highlight, as of today, we're not aware of any fraud affecting the city as we have commenced our planning procedures. But if that were to change, we would be informing, we would go through the process through your CFO and the CAO and ultimately involving council if needed. But as a reminder to council, while we're required to go and look at fraud as part of the audit, council's responsibility is also to make sure that you're able to ask questions, receive reporting, going through your budget process, making sure that you're understanding how it's being built up. That's how you can contribute to ensure that fraud isn't within the city. And also management has their internal control systems in place to make sure that within the day-to-day staff operations that we aren't at risk of fraud. The next slide talks about significant risks in terms of the audit. And it's important to remember that while an audit is there to make sure that the financial report that you'll be receiving in May is accurate, we can't, as your auditor, go and perform tests on every transaction that flows through the city. As you can imagine, that would mean that we would have to be in there all year long, which is very cost prohibitive and not really effective. So as a part of our audit process, what we do is we will go in and we will say, okay, if something were to go wrong, How would it go wrong? And we're going to go and spend more time testing in those areas. And this slide talks about some of the larger areas that we're going to be taking a look at. But it's important to remember that, when we say, under the first one, fraud risk due to improper revenue recognition. You get all these funding agreements from the province. They're complicated. Some of them have different requirements in terms of how you recognize the revenue. We have to spend a lot more time testing that area than we would say the utility bill for BC Hydro at the Public Works building. A very different risk profile. One is complicated, one is fairly simple to deal with. So this slide is meant to highlight some of the areas that we'll be spending more time in. And so revenue recognition, like we talked about with your grants, is one area. The next area is looking at fraud related to management override controls. And we have to look at this within every audit. And plain and simple, what this means is that within any organization, big or small, you can have the best internal control system that's out there, but there's always going to be a few people that can circumvent it or use their influence to get around what these controls are meant to do. And so we have specific procedures that we'll be targeting and dealing with there, in particular looking at senior management, looking at transactions, even with mayor and council. And we look at these even though we don't feel that this is a high risk area, but if we look at some of the media that's been playing out with Metro Vancouver as an example recently, we want to make sure that we're looking at these areas so that you're comfortable that we aren't identifying any issues there. The last one that we have here, there is another new accounting standards or a few that are coming in this year. We don't anticipate that any of these new standards are going to be impacting your financial statements, but with any new standard, we need to give a bit more care there. And the last significant area that, while it didn't make its way onto this slide, it is an important one to deal with, and that's looking at your capital projects and your procurement system. Obviously, the magnitude of the dollars that are being spent there is significant, and so we will be spending a lot of time looking at, not only what capital projects completed this year, but look at how they were budgeted for, making sure that the procurement policies were followed appropriately to make sure that all of those items are flowing through so that you're getting, and we can report back if there's any deficiencies so that you can understand, is the system working as designed? Because a system that works well with procurement as designed, make sure that you're getting the best value for money. So again, while it might not detect, we can say that everything was appropriately recorded. We also want to be able to report back that the system is working so that you're utilizing the funds you have available to the best way possible. The next slide is talking about the concept of materiality. And so materiality is defined by the auditing standards of how big of an error could there be on your financial statements before somebody would evaluate how they look at you or how your financial position is and change because of that error. And we have two different materiality levels. One is based on your capital expenditures and one is based on your revenues. And so we separate capital from operations because when we look at your total capital assets that you have in your infrastructure, you have $230 million. And so we've deemed that, $5.9 million is how large of an error there could be before somebody would look and say, okay, your capital numbers are a little bit different based on that $230 million. For operating revenues, because, your total operating budget last year was $69.5 million, we use a lower number to assess that. Now, those are a couple of very big numbers, and I want to be clear that if something is below materiality, that does not mean that we are not looking at this. What I use that number for on my team is to go in and say, okay, if we're going in and we're doing statistical sampling, how big of a sample, we use materiality to figure out how big of a sample size we need to do to get confidence that the whole population that we're testing doesn't have any errors in it. And then also there could be times where management calculates a number one way and we calculate a number a different way. And we'll use the concept of materiality to say, okay, are our two calculations close enough if it's an estimate that we're not concerned that it's going to be wrong? And then there's also some times where we might, for various reasons, might not want to make an adjustment to the financial statements. And as long as it's below materiality, we would leave that out, but we would track any of those items and report to council in terms of what they are. So I'm going to stop there because I've been talking a lot about technical audit concepts, and I want to just see if there's any questions from Mayor and Council before I add some additional closing remarks.
I apologize. Yeah, nothing at this point in time.
Okay. So the last piece and why it's important for us to talk, and I don't need to have the screen share having up on here, is that this is also Mayor and Council's opportunity to ask any questions. If you would like to know about how we plan to audit any specific items, I talked about kind of our approach on how we're going to deal with capital and infrastructure projects and dealing with that. Or if there's any areas that you're curious about or you're wondering if we look at, or you think that we should be looking at in case we're not, this is your opportunity to share any of those with me as well.
Council? Good to go, Mario. No questions.
Okay. If there's no more questions, I'll just conclude by saying that if there are any items that do come up through the CAO and the CFO between now and May, please feel free to share those, and we are always happy to adjust our approach as moving forward, and we'll be continuing on our path. And like I said, we'll be back in May to present the final audit results and the financial statements.
Thanks very much, Mario, and look forward to seeing you in May.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Moving on now to bylaws. First bylaw for consideration tonight is from Engineering Development Services regarding the City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our Path to Cranbrook 2042. Bylaw number 4174, 2024. I'll ask Rob to provide a brief update as the bylaw is before council tonight for third reading, including amendments and adoption. Rob.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So just to give a quick update, because of the rule about not receiving new information after the close of a public hearing, we wanted to make it very clear in the report with respect to the changes in the sections that were made with regarding the agricultural land reserve policies. Pardon me. And so basically, the gist of it is, if you didn't have a chance to look at them all, was the Agricultural Land Commission had some concerns about some strength in wording and ensuring the role and not creating misunderstandings with respect to agricultural land. And so what we did is we made it very clear in these respective sections, because we do have land use designations. For example, that would be parks and recreation that's in ALR, like the Cranbrook Golf Course, for example. Make it very clear that despite that land use designation, you can't do any uses unless approved by Agricultural Land Commission. And I think one of the standout policies just the changes was actually in the agricultural section, and it speaks to the City of Cranbrook, of course, looking at supporting agricultural exclusion from the ALR of the agricultural lands. But what we did is we clarified that that policy had not been vetted nor endorsed by Agricultural Land Commission. So as to somebody who looks at the OCP doesn't get, I guess, mixed opinions on, oh, if the city says it's a go, it's a guarantee. So we wanted to make it very clear that it's a position of the City of Cranbrook, and it's in this form, and it's all still subject to approval by them. And so those were the only changes. And because the Local Government Act does allow for a council to make amendments to a bylaw, provided they did not alter the use and density or decrease density, we just wanted to make it very clear and transparent that these were the changes that occurred before the original draft that you had given first and second reading to, and then the third reading. So that's sort of the summary of those policies. And we're hopeful that as we go forward in the future, we'll continue, of course, to work with the Agricultural Land Commission where we need, and of course, abide by their processes. So,
Thanks very much, Rob. Can I get a motion that can I get a motion that, subject to council's consideration of public input received up to and including the public hearing of January 27th, 2025, council give third reading as amended to the City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan to our path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174, 2024. Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So as I was reviewing the OCP, I came across the heritage section, and in there talked about the Heritage Committee and quite frankly, as if it was in existence today. And of course, we don't have a Heritage Committee currently, and just coincidentally, Sue Browning sent us a letter that we all have from the Baker Hill Heritage Neighborhood Association suggesting that certainly having a Heritage Committee would be a good idea. So question for CEO Furcho at this point in our cycle. How would we go about if we wanted to establish an arts, culture, and heritage committee?
Mayor Price through the Councillor Stetsky, I think probably there'd be two ways. One is, if council wanted to start something through the course of the year, but typically in local government, it's the organizational meeting. December is when we deal with new committees, so to speak. So, but not to say that council couldn't create something through the year.
Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council adopt City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174, 2024? Mover, Councillor Stetsky. Councillor Graham. Discussion. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. Just a question to Mr. Veg there. Do you have an office pool on the First Amendment coming forward and a date?
I do. We will actually probably see a report for the First Amendment at a second meeting in February.
Oh, fantastic. Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Rob, thank you very much on behalf of council, staff. Boy, this has been a process and it's taken a long time. As well, thank you very much to the public. We put out for public input and we got a lot of good feedback from the public that we have considered for the OCP as well. So thank you all very much. And certainly looking at the plan, I think it's very well suited to take us forward to 2042 with probably minimum amendments going forward. So thank you very much. Up next, bylaw for consideration is from Finance regarding the 2025 revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 4181 2025. Bylaw is back tonight for adoption. Can I get council? Oh, pardon me. Can I get a motion that council adopt 2025 revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 4181 2025? Mover, please. Councillor Bissett. Councillor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte, for that. Moving on to new business. First item of new business is from Fire and Emergency Services regarding council support for Community Emergency Preparedness Fund grant application. Scott on the line? Yeah, we have our chief driver. He's going to give us an overview of the report. Scotty?
Yeah. Good evening, council, through the mayor's chair. Just once again looking for support to apply for a $40,000 UBCM grant to support the Regional Emergency Operations Center. Basically, it's for supplies and training opportunities, and it's a regional application that we're hoping for up to $360,000.
Thanks, Scott. Can I get a motion that the RDK be authorized to submit a joint grant application on behalf of the City of Cranbrook to the UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, supporting East Kootenay Emergency Operations Center Modernization Project, and further that should the UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund application be successful, the RDK be authorized to receive and manage the funds and to provide overall grant management for this project. Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. thanks, Scott, and thanks so much. You know, you guys are certainly on top of this, you know, and, you know, our partnership with the RDK, I think it's an example for the rest of the province. So you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
The next report for consideration tonight is from Engineering Development Services with a request for decision regarding an RDK referral for bylaws number 3370 and 3371. Can I please have staff provide a brief overview of this report, please? Connor.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So very simply, this is just a parcel that's between Playle Road, Echofield Road, and the highway, if you were to make a little triangle. And what they're looking to do is essentially turn 2 parcels into 3 through rezoning from, it would be from a large country holding residential to a small holding residential, essentially just subdividing into 3 separate parcels. The city policies regarding these matters in the OCP, the current OCP, well, now the adopted OCP is, it still reflects the OCP we used in the past, saying that applications for development on the urban fringe will generally not be supported until such time that the city and the regional district complete coordinated intermunicipal urban fringe growth plan to ensure development addresses any risks or concerns identified through the planning process. In the short term, this would be a very insignificant development. It wouldn't have a large amount of concerns, and it wouldn't create a large increase to the use of infrastructure within the city currently. But moving forward, taking a long-term perspective, looking at fragmentation generally on the fringe of the city is not supported in our current policies. So very generally, that's what's happening there.
Thanks, Connor. Can I get a motion for one of the following options, please? Option 1 or option 2?
Option 2, please.
Option 2. Councillor Graham, can I get a seconder? Councillor Peabody. Option 2 is that council advise the RDK. The city has no concerns with the proposed bylaw amendment numbers 3370 and 3371. Discussion. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. Just maybe one of our regional district reps will enlighten us more than kind of what they're reading here, but it's a couple 5-acre lots. I think it's not a big issue. We don't have an abundance of 5-acre lots. If it was chomping down into, half acres, then definitely would raise a bit of a flag, but I think it's pretty straightforward ask, and I don't see any complications with the city.
Yeah, I would agree. It's fairly insignificant. And they're keeping it to 2 hectares too, which, is one of our requirements as well. Councillor Peabody, then Councillor Stetsky.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Graham. I just had a quick question. You mentioned that we're not approving any sort of developments on the fringe of the city until the urban fringe development growth plan is in place in partnership with RDK. Is this something that's been actively worked on? Just wondering what's going on with that.
Sure, through the mayor to Councillor Peabody. So staff has reached out to RDK staff, and I believe we've also reached out through the mayor under letter advising that it's something that the city would be interested in. It kind of arose as part of the OCP process we've done and some of these referrals. We just haven't had any movement on it yet. I think everyone has been busy, and I think it would probably just require a bit more push on both sides to take the initiative to actually get and sit down and do the work. But certainly the RDK, as far as I'm aware, is fully aware of our intent that we'd like to go there sometime. It would just be a matter of resourcing, all those good things that would do it to undertake the work. So.
So once this plan is in place, will that eliminate these, I guess, requests for approval from coming to council? That'll just be covered in our policy or our plan?
I certainly, again, through the mayor, I suspect there's been a number of ways it could be done. I sort of have two visions of how it could essentially be done, but we'd create like an urban fringe plan with a set of guiding principles or policies that could be adopted in both the respective OCPs, because that is kind of our regulatory bylaw. So you could have those policies there. And then at that time, certainly perhaps there could be policies or an understanding through the bylaws that, you know, referrals wouldn't come to us unless they met a certain threshold or something, because we'd have those the nitty-gritties ironed out through the work that we would do. So I mean, eventually, yes, I think that would be ultimately the goal, because then it would save everybody time. I mean, I know the regional district does do the referrals on a regular basis to all the agencies, but if we had that interjurisdictional cooperation and develop this plan and policies that said this is the city's stance, this is our DEK stance, I certainly could see us getting to the point where we wouldn't have to see a good number of those, especially smaller ones like this. Yeah.
Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. Does this set a new record for contravening approval of an OCP that we just approved, if we approve this?
So again, through the mayor, I wouldn't say that, not at all. No, I mean, it's the policy says, you know, it's broad enough, and that it says that we generally don't support. But again, it's just the OCP is a policy, and council in this case actually isn't approving anything. You're making a recommendation to the regional district board. So that's the distinction, is that the city doesn't actually approve it. So perhaps, you know, I guess we could have, and maybe for future ones, we could say that perhaps the city doesn't have concerns with this application, but further would strongly encourage to enter into a future planning process. That might be something that we could do in these cases. We'll keep that in mind, or unless, I mean, it's a little bit, we don't want to change it now necessarily, but it's up to council, but we could do that. So we could kind of have your position based on the application you're considering. Again, you don't have too much concern with an 8-acre or 10-acre and 2 5s, but we still want to see us move forward to that collaborative planning. So we could do something like that for this one or future referrals.
Absolutely. I think that integrated plan would be a good document to have.
And it might not be a record for contravening the bylaw, but it might be a record for putting the new OCP to use right off the bat. So that's, there you go.
Right on.
Good point.
Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you so much. Next report is from Finance regarding the Spirit of the Rockies Society and the 2025 Community Foundation of the Kootenay Rockies grant application. I'll ask staff to provide a brief overview of this report as well. Oh, yes, Councillor.
Thank you,
Great.
Mayor. I'll recuse myself from this item due to my role with the Community Foundation of the Kootenay Rockies.
Okay, thank you very much for bringing that up.
Mayor, Price, and Council, this request from the Spirit of the Rockies Society is very similar to a request we received last year. The Society is planning to apply for a grant through the Community Foundation. The Community Foundation is restricted to issuing grants to, let me just get the terminology here, qualified donees. And the Society is not a qualified donee, but the City of Cranbrook is. So the request is that the City of Cranbrook act as a qualified donee on behalf of the Spirit of the Rockies Society, so that they can potentially be awarded the grant. I won't read all the details, but we at risk would be the city's status as a qualified donee. Based on rulings we've had from CRA in the past, and based on our connection, our tight connection with the society, we feel there's little risk to council approving this request. New CRA guidelines do allow for to create an agreement between the foundation and non-qualified donees, but I believe that the Community Foundation, they would need to change their or amend their mandate to include something that would cover this type of an agreement, and I believe that they're working on that. But in the meantime, this is a solution that would work for the society. And again, it was similar to, it's the same request that council approved last year.
Thanks, Charlotte. Can I get a motion that council approve the request from Spirit of the Rockies Society that the city be the qualified donee of the society's application to the 2025 Community Foundation of the Kootenay Rockies Grant Program? Over, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, just quickly, we had quite an in-depth discussion on this last year before we approved it. Any concerns that came up last year at all, or are we same situation?
Exactly, Councillor Stetsky through Mayor Price, no, exactly the same. Nothing new has been issued by CRA, and no concerns were raised.
Thank you.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. And it's just like, there is no real cost to us at all. It's just write a check and put it in the mail. So I assume we get our postage back or something.
I'll be issuing that invoice, yes.
All right, any further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Yep. Welcome back, Councillor Wright. Next up, we have 3 updates from the Public Works Department. We have Caitlin, Tony, and Jason here tonight. Caitlin, is she online or is she?
No, I'm going to be Caitlin.
You're here? Okay, so we have Tony and Jason tonight.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, I'm going to deliver the climate protection program update on behalf of Caitlin. So a little bit of background. In 2017, the city became a member of the Partners for Climate Protection Program. The PCP program is managed by and delivered by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Local Governments for Sustainable Canada. It is a network of over 500 local governments working together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and implement a variety of climate mitigation and adaptation initiatives. So the PCP program uses a 5-milestone framework to guide members in developing and implementing greenhouse gas reduction action plans. And the city has now been recognized by FCM and the ICLEI for achieving milestone 4 out of 5 for both the corporate and community streams. So milestone 1, the city was completed that in 2021. Milestone 2 was in 2022, 3 in 2022, and then milestone 4 was just recognized in January of 2025. So some of the activities that is included on the milestone 4 for the community stream is the completion of the active transportation plan, the completion of the regional transit study, the annual springtime spruce up campaign, promoting car-free events by providing transit access for community events such as the Spirit of the Rockies, Rock the Kootenays, and Election Day, promoting micro e-mobility through the e-scooter pilot program and the city's water conservation initiatives. And then for recognition of the milestone 4 for the corporate stream was reviewing and optimizing the HVAC systems, replacing light-duty vehicles with electric vehicles as they age out, completing the water supply master plan and associated reservoir storage capacity modeling, fire smart education and wildfire mitigation, and integrated emissions reduction initiatives and operations and corporate policies. So going forward, the staff will continue to make recommendations that work towards achieving the final PCP milestone, milestone 5, which is monitoring and reporting results. So we just wanted to congratulate everybody at the City of Cranbrook, the city departments, for their efforts that made this possible and for the city to achieve the milestone 4 recognition.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll be presenting a 2024 annual update. This administration update is to provide council with a summary of operations and maintenance trends and metrics in the Public Works Department. This year's quarterly updates will be provided by Public Works to inform council on trends seen in areas such as request for service, maintenance program, solid waste, and recycling collection. In 2024, Public Works saw a 71% increase in requests for service compared to 2023. A large number, 566 of those, were due to requests from public for garbage bin size during the rollout of the automated garbage collection. Service request increase were also a result of outdoor water infractions through the Water Ambassador Program, attending to dead animals, notification of potholes, and requests for snow removal. Work orders in 2024, Public Works had an increase of 32% in work orders compared to 2023. Work orders are used to track labor and equipment costs to complete work related to specific service requests or specific operational maintenance priorities. An increase of work orders was seen in parks in order to improve tracking for maintenance costs related to city parks. The metrics included for roads include patching, asphalt repairs due to water main breaks, sidewalk repairs, trip hazard repairs, and solid waste and recycling volumes collected. In 2024, Public Works had a crew dedicated to sidewalk repairs during construction season. This change in operations resulted in a 108% increase in the number of meters of sidewalks repaired compared to 2023. In 2024, the city did not have trip hazard repairs completed. These are typically completed by a third party. There were small increases seen in other metrics for roads. The metrics including for waterworks include volumes of treated water, water infrastructure repairs, and hydrant inspections. Public Works saw an increase of 17% in water infrastructure repaired to 2023. In 2021, the city began seeing an increase in repairs to service lines due to corrosions of copper services. So this was presented in November 8th of 2021, and there's a link to that on your package. Flared connections were normally installation practices for copper services lines before compression style fittings were introduced. As these copper service connections continue to age, it is expected that repairs will continue to increase. So by tracking the repair costs of these failures, there has been an increase in total costs, which includes labor, material, and equipment of approximately $317,000 to repair service line leaks and complete associated asphalt repairs since 2022. While there has been significant cost increase for Public Works labor of $76,000 related to these repairs, the overall operational budget in Public Works has remained relatively the same. This shows that resources within Public Works are being pulled from other maintenance programs to assist in these repairs. By having this information readily available, staff can see expenditures related to these repairs and over the years and can begin to use this information to manage resources and work with engineering to plan capital replacement programs in areas of increased failures. The metrics included for wastewater include sewer infrastructure repairs, volume of hay produced, and number of cattle grazing at the spray irrigation. There was only one sewer infrastructure repair completed in 2024. The number of cattle grazing at the spray irrigation decreased in 2024 compared to 2023 because of the operational practices. There were challenges managing water quality within the 2023 lagoon upgrade. So irrigation finished earlier. The ranchers were permitted to graze their cattle earlier in the 2023 season than typically allowed. In 2024, staff and Public Works inventoried 2,242 street signs and park assets. These additions will be included in the city's asset management software to track and manage repairs and replacements. Staff also inspected 136 streetlights and repaired 136 streetlights, an increase of 14% from 2023. When reviewing response rates for service requests, 85% of the requests were responded to and resolved within 3 months. So this one slide, it's a very interesting slide, just showing, you know, what these service main replacements and, you know, where a lot of our public works resources are going these days. And
Councillor Graham has a question.
Yeah, just on your last thing there with be resolved within 3 months, is that good? Is that bad? Like, I don't know, like if someone phones and there's an issue, like the 3 months fine, or I just, how do you define that?
thank you, Councillor Graham, through the mayor. You know, we'd have to drill down. It depends on what type of service. You know, some of these services, you know, we might have a call in the winter and we can't really do anything till spring. We'd really have to drill into the data a little more. And, you know, at this point, we're trying to build trends over time.
Yeah, I guess my biggest thing is that I would like to see the difference between the response and the resolve, because response, if we get a call in, we should be responding right away, at least with an acknowledgement, we've got your issue. And then the resolve rate could be different, because like you say, it could be a winter thing. Like, oh, you can't do it till the spring. But it's just nice to know, because a lot of times we hear stories of people reporting on 311 or something coming in, like, well, I never heard anything. It's been like 10 days. So it's just like, it'd be nice to see what our response rate is, to at least acknowledge that we've heard the concern.
Thank you. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. I was struck by that figure, 665 water main breaks. It seemed like we were having, that's almost 2 a day all year, which says a lot about the state of our infrastructure underground here in Cranbrook. And I know it's hard to predict, but these were primarily copper joints, were they? And are we reaching a point where this number might go down in the future, or do we still have a lot of water main breaks to go?
Through the mayor to Councillor Stetsky, thank you for the question. Yeah, what we've been seeing, like from 2021 with the copper tubing, it's mostly the connections from the main right to it's called a curb stop that's right on property line. Those flare connections are you know, expiring quicker than the rest of the tubing. What we found when we're digging down is the rest of the tubing is in really good shape. It's just the connections at the main and then also at the property line. But usually by the time we find those leaks or they're reported to us, they've been leaking for quite a while and is quite saturated. Therefore, we really need to expand the excavation to make it safe for our crews to go in there. So that's really leading to a lot of extra costs for asphalt and backfill material.
But looking ahead, and I know it's hard to crystal ball, are we expecting kind of a similar for at least another year or two on these couplings?
If Councillor Stetsky to the mayor, if I remember correctly from the 2021 presentation, we expected about a 10 to 12 year length of seeing this increase of leaks. So we've got, you know, quite a few years left.
Further? No, thank you. Is that it, Tony? Tony, I'm really impressed with how far we're coming on the reporting. Certainly, you know, with all the new apps and the systems, et cetera, what we do have, it's sure evident in the reporting. It's extremely accurate, and you know, if you look at it, it's extremely graphic. So, great work. Is this information, this graphical information, going to be posted on our website or available on the website?
Thank you, Mayor Price. We could create some dashboards for the website. You know, all this data, we can. A lot of it is live. We could even be live data. So
okay. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll have Chris contact you guys and I think it's really important that the public sees some of this, really shows it for what it is. And again, the detail of these graphics, is extremely graphic, right? Yeah. Okay, thanks. What we got? Jason, you update on the water supplies?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a quick update on snowpack conditions that we're seeing up in Moye Mountain there in the watershed. So quite a bit different from last year. Last time we were talking to you in January, February. So we're looking at about 92% of normal right now. So that's about 130% of what we seen last year at the same time. So we're looking not too bad. Last year, the Phillips Reservoir was a negative 5 feet. So right now we're only about 2 inches from spilling right now. So that's pretty much considered a full pool. So that's a big plus for us going forward into the spring as well. So as of today, we're not really anticipating starting the irrigation system in anything other than a level 1. That's a typical year round, but conditions can change. Of course, we're still looking for our big snow months of end of February, beginning of March, that area for the higher elevations. So we still got a month or 3 months, hopefully, of snow, and hopefully we'll be getting a little bit more up top there. Any questions?
Thanks, Jason. Council? Fantastic. Good stuff. Moving on to correspondence. We have 2 pieces of correspondence on the agenda tonight. The first one is from the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, thanking the city. You receive your information, Council? Yeah, thank you. The second piece of correspondence is from Key City Theatre regarding their application through the Grant and Aid Program. Charlotte, are you going to speak to this?
Mayor Price through the council. So this was a letter received from Galen at the Key City Theatre. This is with respect to the $1,500 $1,500 grant application that is in council's grant package. So because the $1,500 that was awarded a few council meetings ago for the Children's Festival was intended to be for 2025, the grant application you're now looking at will be for 2026, which, as it turns out, is the 40th anniversary of the festival. So when I spoke with Galen to clarify what exactly the what year the grant application was for, and what year the sort of impromptu earlier application or request was for, I did say that his and my email exchange would be added to the package that council received, and that he was free to submit something formally. I said, you probably don't need to submit anything formally, but that's what he has done, is to highlight the fact that what you're now reviewing is for 2026. And the reason is because we don't want, he needs to get out ahead of this. So if we run into similar timing challenges next year, that won't be an issue for him.
Thank you, Charlotte. And there's no motion needed for this. Receive for information, Council? Yeah, thank you. Okay, that brings us now to Mayor and Council's reports and inquiries. Let's start with Councillor Stetsky here.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. A couple of events that I attended. One was the Davinka Ukrainian dance troupe presentation at Key City Theatre on Saturday night. It was spectacular, but my knees were hurting just watching them over the course of the evening. It was great to have them here in town. And their proceeds go to supporting youth in Ukraine. So worthwhile from that perspective. That same night was a mini Symphony of the Kootenays presentation at Royal Alexandra Hall with a mini orchestra. So there were 10 people in that component. Since I was at the Ukrainian dance, I went to Fernie to watch it yesterday afternoon. It was a great performance. And so I look forward to upcoming concerts, full concerts at Key City Theatre. One of the things I think we need to be doing is, and since it's still a relatively new cabinet, is putting together a list of invitations to cabinet ministers that we want to have come to Cranbrook. I'm not sure whether we need a session on that at some point, Mark, or but I think we really should get the invitation out as early as possible. They have 4 years to come. And I know their schedules get quite busy, but it would be great to have a number of the provincial ministers here in Cranbrook. Lastly, just following up on the letter and the OCP, I'd like to put forward a notice of motion that council consider establishment of an Arts, Cultural and Heritage Committee. And we discussed it at our February 10th council meeting as part of the agenda.
Seconder. No, you're making a motion on that, Wayne? Pardon me? Oh, no, it's okay. Okay, thank you very much. Yep. Councillor Peabody, sorry.
Nothing to report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I did attend the chamber music at the Cranbrook History Center on Saturday night. It's beautiful in the Royal Alexandra Hall. The only thing is I did miss the Key City Theater because there you're, elevated and you get to see people playing, whereas we were all at the same level. So that was a bit tough. It might be nice if they used a riser and put the chamber orchestra on the riser so they were a little more elevated, which I think they were in Fernie. But anyways, beautiful music in a beautiful venue, and a very nice treat for us here in Cranbrook. And that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to highlight a couple of good news stories coming out of our City of Cranbrook Communications Department lately. So a very well-deserved shout out to our Waterworks team with Public Works for their very hard work during winter to address multiple issues that have been going on, working very long hours. So just want to reiterate a big thank you to our Waterworks team and all their hard work. And also 100th anniversary of the Cranbrook Public Library. So that's definitely an occasion worth celebrating. And this Saturday, Cranbrook Arts has their opening reception for the Cranbrook Public Library arts exhibit. So certainly invite everybody to consider attending that.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to, again, pass along some information I've received from some of the residents and businesses along 14th Ave corridor with the dual bike lanes and now the no parking signs that have been put up there. I think it's a bit unnecessary and onerous. We watched an older gentleman with a disabled parking sign and a walker walk his way into the foot clinic, and then by law proceeded to go write him a ticket for parking there. So I think we need to maybe address the fact that that sooner than later, so our guys aren't camped out writing tickets when people are leaving their vehicles. And I think the line painting as well, it's pretty much washed off the road already. So I think we could probably address some of those issues, but I know there is a lot of frustration there, especially with the businesses that there isn't enough parking in the back and you got to cross the road, and there's a lot going on there. So I know that it's part of our active transportation network, but it can't be that at all cost. So I think we just need to have a little re-look at that. And other than that, that's all I had.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Graham. That question, I think we've all heard it, that concern from the public, and I know CO Virtual is working with our staff right now on maybe addressing that issue come spring as soon as the snow's gone. Councillor Papa.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So it's great to be back in Cranbrook, great to be back in Canada again. Really makes you appreciate once you do your travels to other parts of the world, really makes you appreciate just how lucky and we are to live here in Canada. I don't have any questions of staff right now, but looking forward to meeting on Wednesday. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I just want to follow up on the comment Councillor Stetsky made on his recommendation on scheduling meetings with provincial ministers. A great idea. Mark and I had a conversation about this several weeks ago, and certainly, you know, this is a year, I think, that it's important that, you know, this council as a whole, kind of get a little bit more pointed in the political side of our role. So I think this absolutely fits well. So I'm going to make a recommendation tonight that I'd like to send a letter to invite the Minister of Health. Councillor Stetsky brought up an issue a while back, and he's been advocating for a regional recovery center. Everybody you talk to in the community know we have the issues here. Closest location that people travel to is the Okanagan. And, you know, anybody that does, you know, have any serious illnesses had to travel back and forth. And, you know, family support's so important at this level. And, you know, to almost have to relocate families, you know, during this whole process. So I totally agree with Councillor Stetsky on that. It is something that is needed in the region. I would like to ask council if they'd be in favor of me sending a letter to the Minister of Health. Number one, to discuss the possibility of a recovery center in the area, and secondly, just to discuss some of the local issues that we're having with some of the interior health issues that we have. I know the interior health lab down at the Tamarack, you know, is an issue for people. I think it's probably limited what the minister can do as far as staffing, you know, and the wait times that's, you know, created. But I certainly think that the space that they're occupying now is extremely unhealthy. It's too small. It's, you know, for a regional, to serve a regional area the size of Cranbrook. I personally believe it's undersized, and it's an extremely unhealthy building. So there's a number of things I think we can have a discussion with if she was receptive to coming to Cranbrook for a meeting. I guess I'd like to make a motion along that line, Marnie, that have council's approval to draft a letter to invite the Minister of Health to Cranbrook to discuss some regional health issues. Okay, somebody make that motion. Councillor Stetsky. Councillor Graham seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much, Council. And that's it for close. So I'll get a motion to adjourn the closed meeting. We're going to go back into, pardon me, the open meeting. We're going to go back into closed. Councillor Ray, Councillor Stetsky. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.